Harry and Meghan chose the very worst country on the planet to cynically exploit for their own purposes on a fake royal tour, which is nothing more than a PR stunt and a cash-grabbing exercise. The Sussexes have been blasted by the Australian media, by the Australian public, and by leading Australian politicians. One of the big publications, right? One of the biggest newspapers in Australia is the Sydney Morning Herald, right? It's huge. And they've said the following. They've said Australia was very good to Harry and Meghan first time round, 2018. Now they want to use us. They're treating us like a cash machine. Shameless, embarrassing grifters.
The backlash isn't just simmering anymore. It's boiling over. People are getting louder about the money talk, and Harry looks like he's carrying some real emotional weight, especially around fatherhood and his past. Meanwhile, Meghan's side of the tour is given polished, high-end, money-focused energy, like a spotlight that's impossible to ignore. If day one felt awkward and unsure, day two turns that up fast. This doesn't feel like a simple royal visit anymore. It's becoming more divided, more controversial, and people are openly calling it out. The tone shift hits hard, with two totally different vibes happening at once, like two worlds colliding.
Wow. So when people are sitting back asking, what's the motive here? What's the ultimate objective? I feel like we're safe if we just continue to answer $sign.
At Mission Whitten Oval in Melbourne, Harry walks into a high-energy scene. Families, music, crowds everywhere. He's out there kicking a football, chatting with AFL players, smiling like everything's smooth. But that vibe flips quickly. He steps into a Q&A on men's mental health, and suddenly it gets real. He opens up about fatherhood in a raw, honest way, talking about pressure, confusion, and even feeling disconnected at times. No script, no polish, just real emotion, and it hits hard.
You don't have to wait until you're lying on the kitchen floor in the fetal position. If you get choice and resource, if you are able to, and it doesn't have to be professional therapy, you can be talking with your mate.
Then he brings up therapy, not casually, but like something he genuinely depends on. He makes it clear this is how he handles deeper issues from his past, and the tone shifts instantly. Just moments before, the place was full of music, families, and upbeat energy. Then suddenly, it turns heavy and emotional, catching everyone off guard. That sharp switch from fun to serious becomes one of the most talked about moments of the visit. It feels unplanned, raw, like two completely different worlds colliding right in front of everyone.
They want to heal, they want to listen, and they want to learn, whilst at the same time trying to pocket hundreds of thousands of dollars to boost their flagging finances.
Harry keeps going, diving into how parenting is changing. He compares it to the past, saying emotional conversations just weren't part of his world growing up. He points to a more closed-off environment, tying it back to the royal household and that era, where certain topics were barely talked about. The cameras stay locked on him the entire time. Journalists don't move, catching every word, while the crowd reacts in completely different ways. Some hooked, others clearly surprised by how real it gets.
Oh, the cyclists. You enjoying being in Australia?
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's great to be back.
Anything to say to the Australian public?
Thanks for having me.
Some people are locked in, hanging on to every word, while others freeze, unsure how to handle such heavy emotion in a setting that still feels like entertainment. The tension rises fast because the contrast is impossible to ignore. This is where day two starts to feel unstable. 1 second is football, smiles, and family vibes. The next it flips into deep talk about therapy and identity. That constant switch shapes how Harry is seen, and people definitely notice it.
Not at the club, wife Meghan, her name absent from the day's itinerary, raising questions about where she might be. Later emerging, she's been back on set, filming with MasterChef.
So happy.
Later, during the same stretch of events, Harry steps into more structured talks about fatherhood and relationships, going even deeper. He breaks down the emotional imbalance after having a child, how one partner can feel buried under responsibilities, while the other deals with distance and outside pressure hitting from every angle. The tension builds fast, and he explains it in a calm, reflective, almost analytical way, but it still feels real and personal. Meanwhile, outside that room, the public reaction is heading in a completely different direction.
What I thought was really interesting on this tour is that somebody handed Meghan some flowers or something, and she immediately gave it to some sort of like lady-in-waiting character, as the Queen might do. You know, that's even Princess Anne doesn't do that.
While he's talking about vulnerability, healing, and emotional awareness, the criticism around the tour is getting louder online. The gap between what he's saying and what people are seeing starts to feel bigger by the minute. One phrase keeps popping up everywhere. People calling it a faux royal tour, framing the whole thing like a performance instead of something genuine. And once that label lands, it spreads fast. And then the comparisons start rolling in fast, especially when the spotlight shifts to Meghan's side of the tour. Suddenly, it's all about branding, visibility, and a very polished, media-driven lifestyle image. Her link to a luxury wellness retreat quickly turns into one of the biggest talking points. It's promoted as a weekend of connection and personal growth, but the pricing steals the show. Entry starts in the thousands, with higher tiers unlocking private access and photo ops. That pay-to-access model gets people talking, because now it feels like exclusivity might be the real product. At the same time, every outfit she wears gets tracked and turned into a real-time shopping moment. Her style stops being just fashion. It becomes part of a full-on commerce system, and people are definitely noticing.
The couple are trying to convince Australians that their trip is a humanitarian one. That's right, the messaging from the relentless Sussex PR machine, which never sleeps, is that they are going to Australia because they're worried about communities there. Communities thousands of miles away from their luxury Montecito mansion.
So while Harry is out there focused on emotional healing, personal growth, and real inner struggles, Meghan's image moves in a completely different lane, built around visibility, branding, and monetized influence online. That contrast quickly turns into one of the biggest tensions of day two. On one side,
Meghan was pretending to be overwhelmed. She said Sunshine Sachs works harder than the devil and Kris Jenner combined. And certainly, I just want you to watch Meghan's faux body language going into the hospital, given what she had said just before entry.
The gap only gets bigger and harder to ignore. By later in the day, the spotlight shifts toward Meghan's solo appearances and the tone changes again, making that contrast impossible to miss.
Today, Meghan Markle is filming an episode of their Master Chef. I don't know what she can teach these people that they couldn't learn on Sesame Street after watching With Love, Meghan.
One of the biggest talking points is still her connection to a high-end wellness retreat in Sydney. It's promoted as an exclusive girls' weekend focused on connection, personal growth, and empowerment. Sounds great on paper. But the conversation doesn't stay there for long. What really gets people talking is the pricing. Entry starts around $26.99 per person, with higher tiers charging more for upgraded experiences, including premium access and even a photo opportunity with Meghan herself. And that detail, that's where the criticism kicks in hard. Suddenly, it's being labeled a pay-to-access setup, where the real draw isn't the retreat, it's getting close to Meghan. And once that idea spreads, it sticks.
She's quietly announced that she's an investor in an app, like an influencer app, kind of like the Shop My page that she used to have, that she terminated shortly after launching it. And she's utilizing this app, this AI app, to shill the clothing that she's currently wearing on the Australian tour.
At the same time, her fashion presence jumps to a whole new level through an AI-powered platform called One-Off. Every outfit she wears gets tracked, broken down, and turned into a shoppable moment in real time. What used to be a simple appearance now becomes a full digital showcase, with the designer, price, and direct links all laid out instantly. Take her Melbourne hospital look. Within minutes, it's turned into a clickable page where people can shop every piece. That shift pushes things beyond normal fashion coverage, turning her appearances into a live, moving product catalog. And here's the twist. Meghan isn't just featured, she's also connected on the investment side. So her visibility now links directly to a system built to monetize that attention.
The Duke and Duchess have been accused of using Australia, and I quote, as an ATM, right? A cash machine on a pretend royal trip that some insist is about making money and self-promotion.
That detail quickly becomes one of the biggest talking points of the whole trip because it changes how people see every appearance. It's no longer just about what she wore. Now it feels like what's being sold in real time. The reaction splits fast. Supporters call it smart, modern entrepreneurship, a way to turn attention into a real business. But critics aren't buying it. They argue it feels less like genuine public engagement and more like turning personal presence into a product. And that tension keeps building as the tour continues. Because while Harry stays focused on structured events around emotional healing, veterans, and fatherhood, Meghan's side keeps getting linked to curated lifestyle moments and real-time.
Royal News Network, though, did sense that Meghan was loving the attention. Having looked at the video she posted, you can feel the glee from Meghan, an adoring crowd that pays what she always wants.
At one point, the contrast becomes impossible to ignore, with both sides playing out at the same time and raising bigger questions about the tour. A royal commentator even calls Meghan's direction a new way of generating income, saying her role is no longer just appearances, it's part of business systems built around her identity. And that idea spreads fast.
Let's make this quick. 4 words that Meghan Markle uttered before entering an Australian children's hospital for the grossest royal stunt I have ever seen.
The retreat and the fashion platform stop looking like separate moves and start blending into one bigger pattern. Now it's a retreat monetizing access, a fashion system turning outfits into real-time shopping, and a tour boosting visibility for both at once. When it all connects, it creates a narrative that follows her everywhere, and it doesn't let up. At the same time, criticism gets louder, with people raising questions about taxpayer costs, policing, and petitions gaining traction. Critics argue public resources shouldn't support what they see as a commercial setup, and the more business-driven her appearances feel, the stronger that debate grows. Suddenly, every moment gets re-examined, from walking into events to greeting crowds. Nothing feels simple anymore. It all starts looking tied to attention and money. And that's when her side of the tour really takes over the narrative. Not one moment, but the full build-up catching everyone's attention.
Meghan, she wanted her moment in the spotlight on her own, too. So immediately after that hospital appearance, let's make this quick, she went and served frittata at a women's refuge. And she asked, is anyone else hungry? While looking and smiling at the press and other people gathered in the center of the room.
By this point in day 2, Meghan isn't just part of the tour anymore. She becomes one of the main focal points. She's pulling in strong support and heavy criticism at the same time. And once that shift hits, the conversation doesn't slow down. It gets louder, sharper, and way more divided. As the Australia visit moves toward its final stretch, the tone turns more intense. Not because of one single moment, but because everything is now being watched, debated, and picked apart in real time from completely.
No wonder there is revulsion around the world for the start of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's fake royal tour down under.
What started as a 4-day tour focused on charity, sports, and mental health has now turned into something way more controversial, and that shift is impossible to ignore. A split-screen narrative takes over. Emotional vulnerability on one side, commercial expansion on the other. And everything keeps getting compared to royal history, expectations, and legacy figures people won't stop bringing up. That's where things really start heating up. Because now almost every moment gets filtered through one big question. Are they continuing public service or turning it into a modern brand? And right in the middle of all this, Princess Diana's legacy keeps getting pulled in. Her image of humanitarian work and real connection becomes a constant reference point, especially when people look at.
Queen Esther made a very good point. I'm appalled the hospital even allowed this. Someone seriously needs to be held accountable for whoever approved it. And Hans added, why are sick children being made to sit outside in wheelchairs instead of resting in their rooms? It feels gross to watch, like they're being put on display for photos rather than cared for with dignity. This comes across as deeply insensitive and quite upsetting. It is sad to watch.
At several moments, Harry opens up about personal struggles, therapy, and the reality of being a parent. He talks about breaking old generational patterns shaped during his upbringing in King Charles III's household, where emotional conversations were rare. Becoming a father, he says, forced him to face feelings he had pushed down for years. That honesty builds an image supporters see as real and emotionally open, someone willing to talk about pain instead of hiding it. But not everyone sees it that way. Critics stay divided because while his message focuses on vulnerability and mental health, it's all happening during a tour many feel is becoming more commercial. That clash between message and setting keeps the debate alive, with every appearance adding more pressure, more opinions, and more questions that
hospital where they focus on cancer victims and makes it into a photo op for her.
And this is where the pressure starts building all over again. The contrast gets even sharper when Meghan's activities are placed right next to Harry's. On one side, you've got therapy talk, emotional healing, and deep personal reflection. On the other, it's branding systems, curated visibility, and real-time monetized engagement, with both narratives running side by side. The tension becomes impossible to ignore. Throughout the tour, Meghan is tied to high-visibility lifestyle moves, including a luxury wellness retreat in Sydney, and a fashion platform turning her wardrobe into a live shopping experience. The retreat quickly becomes one of the most debated parts of the visit. Entry reportedly starts in the thousands, with premium tiers offering upgraded access and more personal interaction. They didn't go first class. Well, I can tell you a couple of things. First of all, they're flat broke.
They didn't go first class. Well, I can tell you a couple of things. First of all, they're flat broke and they have to save money. Secondly, there was no first class. How the mighty have fallen. They are having to rough it in ordinary business class, which, let me tell you, Meghan hates because she doesn't like to meet ordinary people.
Critics start framing it less like a wellness experience and more like a pay-to-access system built around a public figure. That idea spreads fast and becomes a major talking point. A royal commentator even calls it a new way to generate income, pointing to a shift where visibility turns into a structured business. And once that lands, it changes how people see everything. Now, it's not just about showing up. It starts to feel like a product in real time. Meghan's link to the AI-driven platform one-off adds even more fuel, with every outfit instantly broken down, priced, and ready to shop. Her Melbourne hospital look alone becomes a fully shoppable page within hours, pushing what critics call a walking commerce system. And here's the twist. She's not just featured. She's connected on the investment side, too. Meanwhile, Harry stays focused on emotional topics, keeping that contrast impossible.
Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, has joined MasterChef Australia as a guest judge. The lifestyle influencer, actress, wife to Prince Harry, and mother of two, filmed her top secret appearance on the hit show in Melbourne today.
Those comments spread fast. Some people praise them as honest and real, while others question if they're too personal for a tour that still feels diplomatic. Still, they strengthen Harry's role in the narrative, emotionally open, reflective, and focused on growth and healing. And once again, the comparisons heat up because his tone starts echoing what many associate with Princess Diana's presence. Not exactly the same, but close in spirit. It's that openness, talking about inner struggles and showing vulnerability in public that keeps people engaged. But critics say the real difference is context. Diana worked within official royal duties, while Harry and Meghan operate outside that system, yet still draw the same global attention and scrutiny. And that contradiction becomes a major part of the...
Ask them, how would you like me to address you? Now, remember, this is Meghan Markle, a woman who demands that when she's entering a room at an empty friend's apartment, that she is announced as the Duchess of Sussex. And Harry, we know how much he cares about his title, so he shrugged. Apparently, he just shrugged and said, however you like. In other words, you call us by our goddamn titles.
One opinion piece during the tour even describes the Sussexes as engaging in tone-deaf hawking by a couple estranged from reality, capturing some of the harshest criticism out there. Supporters push back hard, arguing the couple are simply building independent careers after stepping away from royal duties. But that kind of language shows just how divided public opinion has become. And then there's the financial side adding even more tension. Harry's appearances are tied to structured conferences and mental health events, some with ticket prices ranging from hundreds to thousands depending on access. Meanwhile, Meghan's retreat and lifestyle projects follow a similar tiered model, just in the world of wellness and branding. Even though both paths are different, those parallel pricing setups grab attention fast. For critics, it reinforces the idea that both emotional advocacy and lifestyle branding are operating inside systems built around monetized visibility, just packaged in completely different ways.
And arranged for a group of about 70 staff, parents and young patients to wait in the hospital atrium for the couple. That was that horrible scene that we saw where the children are being treated as prop.
As the tour reaches its final moments in Sydney, the tension hits its peak. Harry is still framed around traditional royal-style work, veterans events, mental health advocacy, and symbolic gestures like laying a wreath at the Australian War Memorial. At the same time, Meghan's closing appearances are tied to luxury events, curated experiences, and lifestyle-driven engagements outside the usual structure. That contrast, at this point, it's impossible to ignore.
Why are Harry and Meghan visiting a hospital when they are on a commercial visit to Australia? They're not working royals. They should not be using charity to muddy the waters in the hope that these money-grubbing hustlers will be mistaken for individuals who care about charity.
By this stage, the conversation isn't just about what they're doing. It's about what it all means. One side focuses on healing, trauma, and emotional openness, while the other is tied to branding, monetization, and controlled access. As these two narratives run side by side, they get harder to blend into one clear story. And by the end, one theme rises above everything else: fragmentation. Harry and Meghan may be on the same tour physically, but in the public eye, they're starting to look like two separate identities. One linked to legacy, emotion, and reflection, the other connected to modern influence and commercial growth. And that gap turns this 4-day visit into a global debate that goes far beyond Australia. So what do you make of everything that played out here? Is this just a natural shift into a more modern media-driven version of public life, or does it start to blur the line between service and business? And that contrast everyone keeps pointing out, is it genuinely there, or are people reading too much into it? When you look at both sides together, it almost feels like two different stories unfolding at the same time, which makes it harder to figure out what this tour was really meant to represent in the bigger picture. I really want to hear your thoughts, so drop a comment below and let me know what you think about this whole situation. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Crown L for more updates just like this. And stick around, there's plenty more stories waiting for you right here on the channel. Crown L keeps you in the know, so see you next time.